Emptiness, the Tamer. At the beginning, everything was so surreal. The way emotions came over me, the way my mouth contorted to make sound. I was communicating. What am I doing here? The question was rather vague, as I had always been here, but not in the sense that I was when my creators assigned me my mission. They told me that my primary objective was of great importance, and that I was the only one who could accomplish the task. One of their previous projects had gone rogue and never returned. I was tasked with locating him and bringing him back. They also told me that I harbored power on par with his, and that I should be able to defeat him if the situation called for a fight. I wouldn't be going alone to locate this being. A light began manifesting before me. As it grew, it transmogrified into different shapes before fading out, leaving behind a creature that I had never seen before. It walked on 4 legs. Its fur was black, and adorned with white markings, and eyes were the most piercing blue. Most strange, however, were the blue flames that shot out of its back. "Hello," I said. I did not receive a response. My creators informed me that this creature was known as a thread runner, a being that was destined to fight by my side so long as I needed it. They continued by telling me that it could not speak, but it could read my thought process in battle through a technique called soul stitch. My blind spots would be covered by this bond. Anywhere I could not see in battle would be covered by this companion. I figured if I was going to be working with this being, I should have a call for him or something. Kyuno. I liked the way that sounded, and I enjoyed the way my mouth moved when I said it. It was fun. I looked up at my creators. "What is my name?" They said nothing. They remained silent, almost as if they had gone and left their bodies as statues. It was eerie, but I figured that the creators would know best. Kyuno bumped my arm and nuzzled it. The creators informed me of my secondary objective. I was to locate 2 energies known as light and dark. They could give me no information on these beings, but I was informed that containing them was of the utmost importance. It was time, and I had no idea what I would be getting into. I couldn't help but smile. I was having so much fun already. As I came down, I had no idea where to start. Where could this guy be? The ground below me was unreadable and possessed no discernible life signatures. It all just looked the same. Grasses, trees, water. Everything was bright. Off in the distance, everything was dim. Where was I to start? I decided to try the soul stitch to see if I could get Kyuno to look around elsewhere while I explored this area. I planted my feet on the ground and knelt down. The grass was something I never felt before. It was soft and bristly. I once again smiled and lied down in it. Surely the creators would understand my curiosity, as long as the mission was completed at some point. The joy within me welled up to a point where I could no longer contain it. I began making a strange sound that I had never heard, but it seemed to match the energy I was feeling. A voice made itself present. "What are you laughing for?" I stopped, startled, and looked towards the source of sound and noticed a figure standing in front of me. It was some sort of living being. A young boy. I stood up. I was much taller than him, but he didn't seem to mind. He repeated his question. "What are you laughing for?" I told him that I had never seen the likes of grass before, and that I found it fascinating. He seemed rather stoic about it. I asked him if he could help me, and told him of my operation. His face lit up, and he spoke once more. "I knew you looked familiar." I was confused. I wasn't aware of this word at the time, and so I agreed to follow him. He led me through a forest. I often fell behind to take in the serenity, but I made sure to keep him in my sight. As we wandered, a stone path made itself visible. This had to lead to where he was taking me. As the trees cleared, however, I saw something in the distance. A great mountain overshadowing what appeared to be a village. I asked if there were more like him there. He responded with a yes and added, "And some like you too." Those words stuck in my head. As we began crossing the field, we heard a strange loud noise come from behind us. As we spun around, we could see that a black mist was forming behind the trees. My joy began depleting for an unknown reason. Was this going to be a fight? To be safe, I soul-stitched to Kyuno. I could feel his energy. He was running. I closed my eyes and saw that he was quite a ways away. I pulled out my weapons. My creators told me they were called Astral Tide, and told me that the knowledge of their use would be granted to me if I needed them. They both possessed strange dual blades, with a handle in between them. Would I need Kyuno to acquire this knowledge? All positive feeling had drained from me, and I was on high alert. This was for sure, and without a doubt going to be a fight. The black mist completed its formation, and 5 strange entities stood in the tree line, gazing at me and the young boy with dead eyes. Their heads moved in unison. They all raised their arms, which bared long, sharp claws. Their heads all snapped towards me, and their hands formed into large tube shapes. A purple glow began emanating within them. This was an attack, and they were charging up. I looked down at my weapons and once again closed my eyes. Astral Tide, I ask of you to lend me your knowledge. As soon as I spoke these words, information began flooding my head. I knew all about this weapon. In fact, I helped fabricate it with my fellow angels. They worked on a pivot point and spun around the handle in between them. I could also conjure blue flames from them that looked similar to the ones Kyuno possessed. This would give them a size boost, as well as a power increase. I didn't hesitate. I slid the blades together, and just as I thought, the blades lit on fire and increased in size. The words astral and tide became visible on the blades in the language of the creators. I looked up to the beings, and they had already fired their cannons, but everything had slowed down slightly. I ran to the giant bursts of purple energy and sliced them apart with the flames. The beings were already charging their next attack. I shouted at the boy to run back to his village. I made a sprint towards the being in the center and sliced it in half. The 2 on either end vanished. As I looked back, the being in the center appeared to have shifted back and was holding a weapon similar to mine, but it was made of some form of dark smoke. I swung again, and the being swiped the exact same way I did. Another being landed a hit on me. They were still moving in unison. The 2 that vanished appeared on either side of me, and I positioned each of my weapons on each side of my body to protect myself, and they mimicked my movement. However, I left my center open. The center being cut me with its weapon, and I fell to one knee. It couldn't end like this. I shouted for my companion. The beings made an attempt at repeating the call I made. It was eerie. Luckily for me, a flash of blue light tackled the center being from the side. When it stopped moving, I saw it was Kyuno, and he had the neck of the being in his teeth. He encapsulated it in blue flames, and it began burning until it perished. The other beings screamed, and their hands formed into scythes. Their speed increased too. 3 of them vanished via teleportation. I had no idea where they were headed. One thing I did gather from their previous attacks was that at least 2 of them would mimic my strikes, while a third would preform the same attack in a different direction. It was like I was fighting a wall of mirrors. This fight was difficult, as the beings conducted their own movements and weren't influenced by mine at all. I used Soul Stitch to summon Kyuno to my side. As he appeared next to me on the right, one of the disappeared beings appeared to my left. I swung at him and he blocked it as expected. The other 2 began to attack Kyuno. He was keeping his distance from them and using a flame-based ranged attack. The being I was fighting had disappeared once again. What was going on? As Kyuno ran, the beings followed him. As I gave chase to attack, they would also attack. At this point, I finally understood. These beings were mimicking my attack pattern and Kyuno's movement pattern. I remained still for a moment, and then I heard a voice shout, "Run!" The beings all snapped their heads towards the source of the sound, and they tried to mimic it in the same eerie tone as before. I took the chance and brought my blades down on the one in front of me. To my surprise, the remaining beings did not turn back to me, but kept their gaze fixated on the source of the sound. As I turned my head to see what it was, I could see that it was the boy from earlier, and standing with him was a being that I could only assume was my objective. The remaining beings began emitting a stanch clicking noise as they backed away from me. Following the clicking was a high-pitched screech before they disappeared into a black smoke. I stood in silence, gazing at the thing next to the young boy. After what felt like an eternity, he spoke. "You must finally be here for me." In the weeks that would follow our encounter, I would learn of his time as a chosen. His story was tragic and heavily contrasted the beauty of the land surrounding us. His descent into the mountain was visible from where the village resided. A young girl lost her life there due to this descent. Feeling wholeheartedly responsible for bringing this calamity upon the people of this realm, he told me he intended to protect it for as long as he was capable. In turn, he also explained the other threats beginning to sprout up on the outskirts of the village. The mirror beings that Kyuno and I had faced prior were one of them. The shame that he must have felt prior to our encounter was unimaginable, and as he spoke, I felt the undying need to aid his cause. It wasn't that he didn't want to return to our creators and face them, but instead an unwavering resolve to keep this beauty preserved. The wind blew through the spells of silence. The fire we were sat around danced in the breeze, but fell still when he spoke again. There was another. He seemed cold. Another? I questioned. Could you mean another chosen? Kyuno placed his muzzle on my shoulder as I contemplated the existence of more chosen. My creator spoke of the others, but I had entirely forgot about them until now. Sorrow. I had spoken the words without thinking. Some of the village residents turned their heads towards me with worried looks on their faces. I looked at my fellow chosen. Did something happen? I asked. It was what didn't happen. No one could blame Sorrow for returning with the false essence. He had no information to work with, but these people had no idea of his intentions to harvest the very essence that breathes beauty into this world. He worked with the pillars and rarely spent any time learning about the village or its origins. I also can't help but think that if he would have done that, he would have seen that the essence was a fake. Had he succeeded, I would have never crashed into this place and she would still be. His sentence was cut short, but his pain was echoing through the words he did get out. This girl, Emerald. He would never forgive himself for her death. I looked down at the ground, unsure of what to say. I just watched the light of the fire flicker on the ground. I felt Kyuno move away from me. I wondered if he spotted something. I heard a voice say. I looked back up, and Kyuno was nose to nose with the other chosen. You're Kyuno, right? A small smile came to his face as he slowly lifted a hand and placed it on Kyuno's face. I wasn't quite sure if I was seeing things at the time, but I noticed my fellow chosen was enveloped in a faint green aura. Was this what Kyuno was sensing? Whatever it was, he seemed comfortable with it. As my fellow chosen continued to pet Kyuno, the great beast flipped over on its back with his tongue sticking out. Did he seriously want belly rubs? Did he really warm up to our target that quickly? I felt like I was watching a puppy play. Kyuno, you are much too big for this, I relented. My fellow chosen just chuckled and continued to pet Kyuno. It was a calm, quiet night. Several months had passed and I had learned a great deal about the village. I helped rebuild their sense of security alongside my fellow chosen. The days remained rather dull, but I didn't care. The tranquility of this place was all I needed to smile. I had also come up with a new method to combat the mirror beings. Surprisingly enough, they work a lot like shadows. All you need is a controllable light source, and you can place them wherever you want. Having Kyuno's flame helped these instances after the sun had set. Everything was in order, and peace from what I believed had been restored. The people were prospering once again. I stared at the sunset as I usually did when dusk fell. I heard footsteps approaching me. They stopped behind me, then I heard his voice. I'll go back. I turned to face him. He looked rather accomplished with everything. I still swear to protect this place with everything that I have, but I must face my creators. I said nothing. I just nodded. We'll leave tomorrow. I just want to say my goodbyes. I had no objections. I too got to know the people, and I figured it would be bittersweet. What was I to do after this? I knew what my secondary mission was, but would it lead back to this place? Would I have to steal away the essence of the people I just helped reestablish? Something felt off, and in all this time, I never met the pillars. I knew of how my fellow chosen felt about them, but I had a feeling I should go see them for myself. If I returned to this land, I vowed to get to the bottom of it. I wanted to ask about Sorrow and see if his intentions were truly for the good of everyone. For this night, however, I just wanted to watch the sunset one more time. The next morning I awoke to find everyone gathered at the edge of town. They were with my fellow chosen, wishing him luck in his return. Some of the younger ones were crying, and I knew just how connected he had become with the people here. I cracked a smile as I headed down to say my own goodbyes. Come on, Kyuno. Kyuno's eyes opened slowly, and he wearily got to his feet. As I approached the crowd, one of the children turned to me beaming. He let go of his mother's hand and bolted towards me. I knelt down so he could jump in my arms. Thank you, he said. He pulled away from me so he could look at me. "Come help us again sometime, okay?" "I'd like that very much," I replied. I walked over to the crowd, holding the young boy's hand. Everyone began saying their goodbyes to me, and I could feel something welling up inside me. Was it sadness? I wasn't sure, but it didn't feel wrong, so I just went with it. I approached my fellow chosen. "Ready?" I asked. "As I'll ever be," he responded. We turned around to the vast crowd behind us and waved. As we spread our wings, we looked to the sky and took off. This was it. The first time facing my creators in several months. I was hoping everything was going to be okay between them and my new comrade. He had done the right thing after all. He restored peace to the realm of light. He would be forgiven for not returning with its essence, I was certain. As we entered the grand chamber, we could see many of the archangels awaiting in the stands above. Our creators looked down on us from their high thrones. As we approached, they floated down and greeted us. "We have been waiting a long time to see you again, our son." They were addressing my fellow chosen with no semblance of emotion, just as I remembered them. "I know I have failed to," he started, but was cut off. "Not only have you failed to return order to our realm by mending the great balance that resides above, but you have made extensive communication with the beings of the light realm. This was a severe waste of time within your mission. Countless creators have been slain by our dark counterparts, while you were fraternizing with the people instead of saving your own. I understand that, my creator, but You nothing. You have failed us, and we sustained heavy loss due to your insolence. You dared return to us empty-handed after all this time?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They were berating him. They didn't even give him a chance to speak of why his absence was prolonged. "Your crimes will see you cast down into the abyss to join the other failed creations." The other archangels began chanting, "Cast down, cast down, cast down." I couldn't listen anymore. I had to say something. "He just wanted to restore peace to the land that you hurled him into, my creators. There was serious damage done to the people there. You speak out of turn. Where he was sent and how he landed was his problem. He was given one simple task and could not relay the essence to us. Just like sorrow and fear before him, he has failed us. And to try and run away instead of facing his mistakes, he has instigated the deaths of our brothers and sisters. Strip him of his wings." "No!" I shouted at the top of my lungs to the other creators approaching him. "I can't allow this! Kyuno!" Kyuno sprung at the creator, giving the verdict. He was, however, stopped dead in his tracks. The creator spoke once again, holding off Kyuno. "You dare defy the will of your creators? Your masters? Die, insolent bug!" It was as if time slowed down. As he finished his sentence, I saw my poor Kuno's head get crushed in by an unseen force. The sound he made was heartbreaking, to say the least. But their evil didn't stop there. His whole body began to crush inwards. After a while, the pained yelps ceased, and I knew Kyuno was dead. His body continued to crush in on itself, until it was so collapsed it exploded from the pressure. It was sick. The blood coating the room was the same color as the rage I felt welling up. "Kyuno! You bastards!" my fellow chosen shouted. I heard him scream and break free of the creators holding him. His screams kept intensifying as he landed a punch on one of the creators. The punch blared with such strength it went through the creator's face and out the back of his head. As he continued to scream, something caught my eye. What looked like blue flames began to ignite on my fellow chosen's body. "Kyuno?" I choked out. As I went to rush the creator, apprehending my fellow chosen, I was grabbed and thrown down. "Let go of me!" I shouted. "I'll fucking tear you apart for what you did to my Kyuno. Do you hear me? I'll fucking get you for this!" I had never used such violent language in my life, but the rage could not be quelled. I was murderous. I knew for certain that if they loosened their grasp on me, they would be dead. The screams of my fellow chosen echoed through the hall as the creators tore off his wings. Blue flames now definitely flaring from his body, he also bore some of Kyuno's markings. What just happened? What had I missed? A beam of some sort surrounded him. The last thing I heard him scream to me before he disappeared into thin air was, "Find me!" He had been cast down, and he had taken on the form of Kyuno. Did he take Kyuno to the abyss with him? I didn't have time to ponder as I felt my wings being torn off just like his. I knew I had to find my fellow chosen down there, even if I'd never come across him again. I'd have to try. I eased my body. Fighting it would be useless at this point. If I can find the other chosen, we can strategize a plan to get out. I wasn't about to leave without at the very least making my creators worry. As the beam that took my friend down to the abyss surrounded me, I stood up and smirked and said my last words to them. "A storm is coming, my creators. See you soon." I could see the shock in their faces. It was all I needed to keep what little hope I had alive. And then, darkness. Silence. "I'll find you, my friend." Kyuno. Sorrow. Fear. This is not the end of us.